We hope you enjoyed part 1 of A Family Builds a Mountain. Here's part 2. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
From the floor of the glory hole, miners pursued that magic yellow mineral up and across in almost every direction. If the diggings were good, a miner would work his way right into the side of the mountain, making sure of preventing a cave-in by shoring up loose rocks on the way. And above him in the glory hole, you might have seen another miner following his vein of yellow. As he worked in the flickering light of his candle, he loaded the treasure-bearing rocks into waiting ore cars. Sometimes the miners went up so high in the glory hole, they had to lower the ore down in buckets to where there were cars to take it out of the mud. The figures of these miners in the glory hole stand immovable and silent. Even so, they've told us a lot about gold mining and the mining men they symbolize. Most people don't realize it, but there are many underground rivers and lakes. Miners working deep in the subterranean recess of a mountain have often broken through a wall, and there before them lay a tranquil body of water. In some of these lakes, fish have been found who were totally blind. They didn't need eyes in the absolute darkness of their underground home. Those miners are not panning for gold. They've been mining back in the tunnel, and they've come to the lake to wash out a pan and check the quality of the ore. Some underground lakes date back centuries before Columbus discovered America. The progress of their growth in the silent darkness of their subterranean domain can be traced by the watermarks etched on the stone walls. In direct contrast to the quiet stillness of an underground lake can be the wild, unrelenting surge of a subterranean river. That roar we hear ahead is the thunder of a waterfall. Who knows from what depths of the earth this torrent came, and who can say where it is going in its mad, headlong dash? Perhaps somewhere hidden in the depths of our planet is a huge lake, larger than any we have on the surface. As our train rounds a curve, we arrive at the bottom of the mine. Supposedly, we are now at the 3,000-foot level. Eventually, perhaps this mine will go much deeper. We can see how the miners are bringing up a bucket of ore from the shaft, which is already reaching deeper. But even 3,000 feet would be impossible without these square timbers. This is an accurate reproduction of square-set timbering, as invented by Philip Diedesheimer. In 1860, Diedesheimer perfected square-set timbering to eliminate cave-ins. And even though he was laughed at and scoffed at in the beginning, ridicule turned to glowing praise, and he was eventually known as the savior of the Comstock. His unique invention made mining safe even at deeper levels. Hard rock mining changed gold production figures from millions of dollars to hundreds of millions. Without square-set timbering, many mines still operating today would have been abandoned a century ago. As our train starts back up, we pass new diggings. These are called stopes in mining. The men have dug up so far, they're out of sight. possible for miners tunneling their shaft into a mountain to break through a wall unexpectedly and find themselves standing in an immense cavern, like this. Mother Nature, with her infinite patience, ignored the passing of thousands of years and fashioned her hidden masterpiece. Actual subterranean caverns like this are known to be millions of years old. Each stalactite, hanging from the roof of the cavern like an icicle, was formed by water seeping out of the ceiling and leaving a trail of calcium carbonate. With every drop of water, a tiny speck of the mineral was added to the formation, and thus it grew. In places where the drip continued, droplets falling to the floor built a stalagmite growing upward. This stalactite grew down, and its brother stalagmite reached up to meet it. Only inches to go, and then they will be joined together. How long before they meet? Well, if they had been like this before the Dark Ages, they might be almost touching now. Who can say what was happening on the surface of the earth when nature began forming this magnificent arch? Here's another of her creations. Miners are always thinking of food, so they call it the bacon strip. One of the more poetic miners gave this formation the name of the King's Room. Can you see the throne? The same man called this the castle. As you gaze at the beauty of this cavern, it's difficult to remember nature did it all in utter blackness. You can see anything your imagination is capable of seeing. An enchanted city with Gothic skyscrapers, stalagmites that look like fire hydrants, others that resemble giant candlesticks with melted wax running down the side. Perhaps you may see a statue or a totem pole. The miners call this the bottomless pit. They haven't any idea how deep it really is. It was caused by water which dissolved the rock, probably around a vertical fracture in the bedrock. In this ageless cavern, time seems to stand still, but our train doesn't, so we continue on. This mining device is called a winze, W-I-N-Z-E. Miners used it as a do-it-yourself elevator to pull buckets of ore from one level to another. The bucket simply slid up or down on the timber rails. We pass the glory hole again, this time from the top level, looking down. From this marvelous high vantage point, we swing around a curve and cross over a trestle, while under us, miners work a stope leading up and out of the glory hole. That pounding ahead is the deafening clatter of ore coming down a chute into a mine car. The brightness of sunlight ahead, and high on the side of the mountain, we emerge into the open. Our train takes us between two gigantic waterfalls. We circle tunnel beneath a rock ledge and re-enter the mountain. Again, we pass the glory hole, this time from the middle level, and this view gives us a completely different perspective of the immense pit. As we move ahead, we pass a side digging. This is something you almost always find in a mine. This one is being used as a storeroom for dynamite. On the workbench, we can see where the men have been inserting the fuses, so we know that blasting is going on somewhere in this area. As careful as miners are with explosives, accidents have been known to happen, so we must proceed cautiously. That's the blasting warning. A charge of dynamite is about to be set off, and we're too far into the tunnel to stop.
I did like that story.
I didn't know there was Chinese miners.
I feel as though we've been through a real gold mine.
A family builds a mountain, and they called it the Calico Gold Mine. At Knott's Berry Farm, there's always a lot to see, such as the wagon masters performing. And, of course, there's a lot to do. This is one of the most unique shooting galleries in the world. Rifles fire with the sound of exploding powder, and gun recoil can be felt against the shoulder, but no real bullets are fired. It's all done electronically and in absolute safety. Nevertheless, you still get all the excitement of hunting lifelike animals in their own wooded surroundings. Here at the farm, you can taste the flavor of age in things like this old cable car, or the music of this ancient calliope. There's always something special happening here, like this Prospectors' Day parade, celebrating the discovery of gold in California. The success of Knott's Berry Farm is really the portrait of a family. One son, 3 daughters, and their spouses, who stayed together and worked together to help carry out the dream of Walter and Cordelia. 40 years ago, when the dream was born in this berry stand, it was only a hope for simple success. Together, they've created a historical and educational landmark for the enjoyment of everyone. For as the little farm grew, the dream became important, and the family gathered crumbling treasures of the past. They restored and guarded these vestiges of our Western heritage so they might be shared by the future. They never lost faith in themselves or in each other, and in the end, even they were astounded with the results. The family had moved an entire ghost town to Buena Park. They started with a berry stand, and they became the family that built a mountain.